Hi, I'm Nate Adams, CEO of HVAC 2.0, and I've been getting questions about how to look at an all-electric house and peel apart the energy bill so that you can see how much the house is using for heating and how much the house is using for cooling. And you can do this with just monthly energy bills. Is it perfect? No, but nothing when it comes to load calculations is going to be perfect. If we get within plus or minus 10%, we're doing really good. So this can help you do that. So this training is about turning energy bills into heating and cooling usage, so peeling that apart. And the technical name for this is energy bill disaggregation. So we're going to peel the onion. So the more you know about a house, the better. And you want to start with monthly usage. So you have to have monthly usage and then you work backwards. So I'm going to go through this step by step, and I'm not good at teaching this yet. Hopefully this will be good enough. But if you have any questions or comments or you're confused someplace, please comment below because I need to know what I need to do better. All right. So here's the stuff that you have to know about the house. So you need to know the square footage. You need to know the zip code. You need to know how many people live there, how many occupants. And you know, it's a divorced couple, or there's a step kid and they're only there half the time. That's going to be 2.5 occupants or something like that if it's the couple and then half a kid, whatever that might be. That affects the water heater usage. When it comes to lighting and stuff, it doesn't seem to matter that much anymore. Now that we have LED lights, it's not a huge energy use. And then you want to know what your typical cost per kilowatt hour is, which you take by adding up all of your usage for the year and then all of the bills for the year and dividing it out to see what that is. Because there's all kinds of extra little charges in there. That's a pain in the tuchus. But you want to do that for 3, 4, 5 people, something like that. And then you're going to get a pretty good idea of what the typical cost per kilowatt hour is in your market. Then you need to know what kind of water heater they have. If it's an all-electric house, the odds are really high it's electric resistance. Maybe they'll have a heat pump water heater, but you'll probably be the one to install that. Then you need to know what size HVAC they have and what efficiency it is. And then you want to know, do they have any unusual users? So do they have an electric vehicle? Is there a Tesla or a Leaf or something like that? Do they have a hot tub? That's a big user. Do they have an ADU? That's a California term for accessory dwelling unit. So that's like a converted garage, or one client has a workshop that he does woodworking in, things like that. You want to understand what those things are if you can. There's a few things that are good to know, which are what is the blower door, because leaky houses are going to tend to use more, and it's going to be easier to correlate if you have that data point, much easier. You want to know what they keep their thermostat at. So do they keep their air conditioner at 80 or 67? That's going to make a big difference, and you want to have an idea of what that is. Do they take long vacations? So if they're gone for 2 weeks in a month, that month is probably going to dip. So if you look at what the usage is for that month, that will help you understand. Conversely, if they have a whole bunch of guests in, particularly with electric resistance water heaters, you're going to see the usage climb quite a bit on those months. So that can easily add 250 or 500 kilowatt hours to a month. So those are good things to know about. Now we're going to go through an actual house. So Reedy Ward, who's one of the people that has asked me to do this, sent me usage from one of his client homes. And this is what I know about the house. This is seriously all that I know. So I know it's 1,830 square feet. It has a 2,500 blower door, which means it's about a 1.35 to 1 ratio. So it's kind of tight. It's nothing spectacular, but it's probably an HVAC only solution. It is in Rockingham, North Carolina, which is climate zone 4. There are 3 occupants in this house. They have a resistance electric water heater, and their current HVAC is a 10 SEER 3-ton package unit, and it has a 10 kW backup strip heater. So that's what we know. I'm going to go over 2 different methods to back into this. So we're going to start with the hard way, which is the spreadsheet version, because you need to understand how the math works. And then I'm going to show you the easy way, which is the visual method. So the spreadsheet method, there are 5 steps. So you need to start with the monthly usage and chart it out. Then you need to subtract the domestic hot water usage. Then that will help you understand what the baseline usage is. And then above that, you'll see what the HVAC usage is. And once you know what the HVAC usage is, you can separate it by month into heating and cooling. So monthly usage, here we are. So every month, May 2020 through April 2021. So this is 12 months. So this house is using just shy of 20,000 kilowatt hours per year. And at 12 cents, that is a little bit shy of $2,400 a year worth of electricity. And that's pretty typical. 200 bucks a month is kind of a standard utility bill. Okay, so you want to look for the low months. So May and October are the low months. So May is really low, kind of unnervingly low, because the second highest month is just shy of 1,400 kilowatt hours, and then May is not even 800. So that's a much bigger spread than I might expect, and so that makes me wonder, was that an estimated bill, or were they on vacation, or something like that, because that number doesn't sound right. All right, the next step is to subtract the domestic hot water usage out of what their monthly usage is. So the quick and easy way to do this is electric resistance water heaters use between 100 and 150 kilowatt hours per month per person. So if you have 3 people, you're going to be somewhere between 300 and 450 kilowatt hours a month worth of electric resistance water heat. If they have a heat pump water heater, that's way, way less. That is, from watching Ream tanks, somewhere between 20 and 30 kilowatt hours per person per month. So I'm going to do an educated guess here that this 3-person household is about 450 kilowatt hours per month. That's probably accurate, plus or minus 50 kilowatt hours, something like that. Step 3 is to figure out what your baseline usage is. So after subtracting the water heater, you see we're at about 330 kilowatt hours here, that's pretty low, lower than I would expect most households to be. And then October is about 900 kilowatt hours when you take out the water heater. So here's where you want to ask yourself a couple of questions. So you're looking at the lowest months. So are any of these estimated? Because if they're estimated bills, it might be wrong. Were they on vacation, like I mentioned earlier? You want to double check that you're looking at shoulder months, which are going to vary depending where you are in the country. So May and October, those make pretty good sense. So these are months with little to no HVAC usage. And so this is where you will figure out what they use just doing normal stuff around the house. So lights and internet and so forth. So that's a key thing to understand. Now, from experience, most homes use somewhere between 300 and 800 kilowatt hours per month. So that's for lighting, internet, the TV, cooking, refrigerator, all of the other stuff that gets used in the house. Now, if they happen to have a hot tub or an EV, an electric vehicle, those are typically in the range of 5,000 kilowatt hours per year. So that's you want to know that that's there, because I mean 5,000 kilowatt hours, if they had a hot tub and an EV, that would be 30,000 kilowatt hours a year, and you'd be like, what on earth is going on in this house? So I had one that I totally forgot about. The guy bought a Tesla, and you could see when he bought the car, because they had bills going back a decade on their house. So this home, this is a squishy one, because I don't like this 328. Subtracting out the water heater. I mean, maybe it's 400, but that's low. Again, I strongly suspect if you ask them, they were on vacation that month. So this house is somewhere between 500 and 600 kilowatt hours per month of usage is what kind of makes sense to me. So that would mean that 300 of this is for heating or cooling for October, which is typically a very temperate month in North Carolina. Same thing for Ohio, really. That's the end of October when it starts to cool off. Now, if you get weird numbers like this, if you can get more data, so if they've been there for several years, see if they can dig up an older electric bill so that you can compare several years. And if you look at 2 or 3 years worth of energy bills, your certainty level is going to go up quite a bit, which is important when it comes to sizing the HVAC, which we'll get to in a little bit. The other thing you can do here is consider an energy monitor or suggest an energy monitor to them, particularly if they have a weird load like an EV or a hot tub. And it's also really good to know for the water heater. And if you're doing that, you can clamp the HVAC as well. So you can understand what the fan's pulling, what the compressor's pulling, and what the resistance is pulling. This house looks like it's really not getting into resistance, which we'll look at in a little bit. So, like I mentioned, step 4, this is figure out what the HVAC usage is. That May 2020 data point is weird. So here's what we're doing. Here's the monthly usage, subtracting out the water heater, and then subtracting out, I'm just assuming 500 kilowatt hours per month is their baseline. So that's the baseline usage. And when you subtract that out, you see what the HVAC usage is. So again, that May 2020 data point, that's bothering me because that puts them into a negative. So something's going on. And when you find stuff like this, something is going on. So I found a grow room this way. Subtracted things out, like there's 500 kilowatt hours. I just don't know what it is. Yeah, you need to buy some LED grow lights. That is something to pay attention to. So there's something going on with that data point. Now, next you want to see, do these numbers pass the sniff test? So HVAC usage is typically 5,000 to 15,000 kilowatt hours per year, depending on your climate and the house. So we're using about 8,300 kilowatt hours of electricity for HVAC in this house, because we start with almost 20,000. We subtract out the water heater, and we're down to 14. We subtract out the 6,000 for the baseline usage, and then we come down to about 8,300. Now, again, this is not going to be dead on, but it's going to get you in the ballpark. So then you take a look at, let's see, summer months. So June, July, and August are all right in the 1,000 kilowatt hour range. Same with September, which is going to be warm in North Carolina still. So that sounds about right. That jives. Winter usage, like we're a little on the low side to see 700. It's 700, 625, 900. That sounds on the low side, but that also suggests to me that they are not getting into resistance at all. So the 3-ton that they have in this house is probably bigger than it needs to be, which is good to understand. And that makes sense. My friend Neil Comparetto has a 2,000 square foot house in Virginia, which is a very similar climate, with a 2-ton, and the 2-ton shuts off at design for him, which is 17 or 18 degrees. So the odds are this is oversized, and that makes sense because if there was resistance in here, the usage would be higher than the summer usage. So I don't think there's resistance in here. The winter usage sounds about right. It might be a little on the low side, so maybe they're using less for the water heater, something like that. But we're getting there. So the 8336, it's in line based on the 1,830 square feet, 2,500 blower door, and their 10 SEER equipment. So this smells right to me. So that's good. You want to make sure that things smell right, because what modeling is really for is informing your intuition so that you can understand when something sounds right or if it sounds really, really wrong. So very important point. Okay, last piece is we want to separate the heating and cooling usage out. So this is based on your climate. Different months are going to be heating or cooling depending where you are in the country. The heating and cooling numbers that come out of there, they're not going to be dead on, but you're probably going to be plus or minus 500 kilowatt hours a year, something like that. So the way to think of this is not like a hole-in-one. This is like getting on the green. For most of the work that we do in HVAC 2.0, we're not going to hit a hole-in-one. But most people can't even drive the ball, let alone get on the green. So we're just trying to get on the green. And once you get on the green, you can actually tweak the house to make it do what you want. But you have to get close to the hole. But if you're trying to figure out how to be absolutely perfect and get there, you're not going to get there. And I've talked to energy disaggregation experts. In fact, there's another video that is in the training series, and fellow reached out to me and said, you nailed it. That is what disaggregation is. So this is how they do it. They have programs that pull it apart like this. I'm just teaching you how to do it. So again, this is like getting on the green, not a hole-in-one. Now, if you want to be dead on, you need to get an energy monitor, or the Carrier Infinity, or all the ICP brands, top of the line. It's the Ion Control, I believe. That records usage for HVAC. In that case, it does heating, cooling, air handler when it's just the air handler running, resistance heat, and also reheat resistance electric for reheat dehumidification. So you've got a pretty good idea what's going on there, and if it's a hybrid system, it'll show gas usage as well. So that's a really useful tool. Their service sucks. Carrier and Bryant, you guys can do a lot better, but the equipment is good, and it's the only control that actually watches energy usage. So that is your option if you want to avoid the energy monitor. So backing all this out, estimated heating and cooling usage, I subtracted out the 172 for May because there's probably still some heating going on there. And if you add all of this up, we're coming up with about 4,300 kilowatt hours for the year for heating. So there's more months, but the usage numbers are lower per month. So it ends up being a little bit more than cooling. So cooling is somewhere in the 4,000 kilowatt hour per year range, 4,060 it's coming up with, which works out to right about $500 a year for each. So of their $2,400 electric bill, less than half of it is heating and cooling. So does all of this make sense, how I peel this apart? So you start with your monthly usage, you subtract out an estimate of their water heater usage, which is mostly based on occupants. Then you look to figure out what their baseline usage is, so what they just use on a day-to-day basis for cooking and internet and fridge and all that stuff. And you take that out, and then you come down to HVAC usage, and then you take the HVAC usage and you split it out by month to see what the heating and cooling is. Now, there's going to be a mixture here, so October may still have some cooling in it. It is what it is. This is an educated guess. Again, this is getting on the green. So hopefully this makes sense. If anything doesn't, please comment below. I want to understand how to make this better for the next time I record it. Okay, so now we have done the hard spreadsheet method. Now let's look at the visual method. So this is how you can disaggregate a house in seconds just by looking at the utility chart. So I plugged all of the usage into a chart here. So it's usage by month. So again, you start by looking for the low months that are shoulder seasons. So here's May, and that was 778, and October, and that was 1362. So May and October makes sense to be shoulder seasons. The shoulder seasons are where you are going to figure out your baseline. You have to look for months that don't have much HVAC usage. So it's when it's nice outside, 50 to 75 degrees out. That's when you're not going to have much HVAC. So we talked earlier about how 450 kilowatt hours per year is the resistance water heater. So let's just say the bottom 500 is resistance water heater. So that would be 6,000 kilowatt hours a month for the water heater. It's probably more like 4,500 or something like that, but whatever. This is a quick visual method. So that bottom 500 is the water heater. So all the way across here, this is what it takes just to have the water heater running. The next 500 is their baseline usage. This is what they use in their day-to-day activities again, lighting, internet, refrigerators, cooking, all that stuff. So that gets us to about 1,000 kilowatt hours per month that they are using just for basic services in their house. So what we know then is that the rest of it is heating and cooling. So you start looking at these, how big these arrows are. So you go from 1,000 to wherever they are. So 1,000 up to, say, call that 1,700, 1,750. So that is about 700 kilowatt hours of cooling for June, just looking at it visually really quick. And you keep going through here and see where you are. So the cooling, you take that 700, and then this is about 1,200, and this is about 1,000, and this is about 800, and you add those up, and you get 3,700 kilowatt hours per year for cooling. Heating, you use the same thing, so 700 plus 600 plus 600 plus 800 plus 600 plus 500. Are they dead on? No. But none of this is dead on. Again, this is not hole in one, this is get on the green. So when you add those up, you get to 3,900 kilowatt hours. And I mean, I can do that in 10, 20 seconds, something like that. So let's compare that versus the spreadsheet method. So this method, we're coming up with 3,700. The spreadsheet method was 4,060. With the spreadsheet method, we were getting 4,276 for heating, 3,900 with this quick visual check. This means that we're within 9% of what the spreadsheet method is within just a few seconds looking at this. So we're going to look to see what that means here in a minute when we back into the load with carrier op cost. And so if we're plus or minus the 9%, we're plus or minus about 5,000 BTUs. So we're pretty close. We're within a half ton of where we're landing. That is close enough for variable speed equipment because you're looking at either a 2 or a 3. All the unitary stuff, it's full ton increments. So you'll have an idea where you're going to land. So again, this is how I can disaggregate a bill in seconds. And if you do this 5 or 10 times, you're going to figure out how to do it too. So I showed you the hard way with the spreadsheet. This is the easy way. Okay, let's go look at carrier op cost. And this, I'm just going to do live. So we know that we were, well, here, let me flip back. So 3,700 cooling, 3,900, well, so it's going to be about 4,000 each. So we'll come into about 4,000 on both of these. Let's see, I forgot to put the zip code in here, so I will scroll up. House attributes, 28379. Oh, come on, honey. Too much going on. 28379. So what you have to do here, this shows you the base system, and then you can see what the usage would be if you change it to something else. So we're just going to walk through this live. So this is a heat pump split. And so a SEER 10, that's probably going to be an HSPF 6. So that's as close as we can get. I don't know what their lower end models are. I just don't have them in my head. And I don't know that, like, it's going to show their current models. So this is where we're going to have to come from. I wish I could put in a 10 SEER, but I can't. So there's a fan coil. And we're going to select that for heating. It's got to think. But you want to look down here. So you want to make your numbers really easy. So see this summer electric cost down here? We're going to make both summer and winter 10 cents, even though it's 12. We're going to come back and change that in a little bit. But for now, we are going to back into this. Because if it's 10 cents, if you see $315, that is 3,150 kilowatt hours. You're just moving the decimal point over, if that makes sense. It's way easier for gas at $1 a therm, because if it says it's 500 bucks, it's 500 therms. So this you have to move the decimal point over, but you're all big boys and girls. You can handle this. So 18,000 is too low because we're looking at cooling costs and heating costs. So they are almost equal. So that's good, which makes sense because it's I just had 18,000 loaded in here from using this the last time. But let's make it 2 tons. 2 tons on both sides and see where we land. So we were aiming to get in the 4,000 kilowatt hour range. So this is now 4,120 and this is 443. So the heat load is still too high. So we're going to back that off. Let's try 21,000. And that's a little bit too low. So we'll do 22. So you're just backing in. So I'm looking at the heating cost here. I have to hit tab to make it work. So there we are, looking at 4,000 kilowatt hours, so 400 bucks. And cooling is going to be right about the same. There we are. So they're both around 4,000 kilowatt hours a year. So this is a 2-ton house. Boom. We know that we're there. So now that we are trued to energy usage, and again, we're not dead on. This is going to be plus or minus 10, maybe 20%, because we don't know exactly what the usage is. So the more exact we can know different metrics, the closer we can pull in the error bars. So let's look at, let's make this a hybrid. So what if they did a hybrid and they used a 5-stage inverter and a top-of-the-line furnace? And their gas cost isn't going to be that high. And by the way, now we can change these numbers because these are coming in right. So let's say they are 70 cents a therm, and then we are going to change these to 12 cents, which is what the actual cost is. So we can give them an idea, and this is oftentimes what I'll do when I'm showing people what the cost difference might be. So 25 VNA 8, that's the 5-stage again. And then we'll run the hybrid again. And then we will give them a heat pump again. So we'll just run that same heat pump VNA 8. I can change this in a minute to something else. So an important note here, see the select for heating? It's not, it's grayed out here. Normally I'd check that, but I can't for this one. So this will be leaning on gas, and I'm going to check this, and then it's going to lean on heating on the heat pump. Note that it changed from, see there's a 25 VN8 24, that is the regular 2-ton unit. The 25 is the cold climate 2-ton unit of that. And it costs ever so slightly more to run it that way. But then the heat pump, oh, well, hang on, I need to select for heating here too. So this is the savings versus what their current system is. And you can see they're all basically the same. And this is using the same cold climate one. Now, if you want to run the fan all the time, you click these. And so what, we came from 376 down to 366. So it costs $10 a year to run the fan, which is about what I see. So we'll just check all of those. And there we are. So it doesn't really matter if they go a hybrid or if they go a straight heat pump for this climate, and this is why climate zone 4 is prime heat pump territory. Even in climate zone 5, that will be the case. I mean, just for giggles, I will change this to my zip code at home. And then I need to check these boxes. And look, they're within 150 bucks of each other on a house with a 2-ton load, which is about what our house in Ohio has. So let's see here. Can I? Yeah. Yay, Control Z worked. Oops, we're going to do that one and that one. And these numbers will come right back in. But look at that. We're within $40 a year. Nobody's going to notice the difference. And if they don't have gas, they can't get gas. It doesn't matter anyway. But it's basically the same. And that's a pretty low gas cost. So you'll say, oh, I pay 30 cents or 40 cents. Add everything up. Put in all the extra charges, all the taxes, the meter fee, stuff like that. You'll probably find that you land somewhere between 60 and 80 cents a therm. That's usually what I see. And 12 cents a kilowatt hour, that's a hair under national average. National average is about 13. That's what it is in Ohio and actually here in West Virginia as well. So that is how we took monthly energy bills. We spit out that it's about 4,000 kilowatt hours per year for both heating and cooling. We could back into the heating and cooling loads, which are both right in the 2-ton ballpark. Normally you won't see this. Well, I guess it depends on what climate you're in. So if you're far south, your cooling will be greater. It's kind of unusual to get this for climate zone 4, but that's what the numbers are saying. Climate zone 5, your heating load's typically going to be 50 to 100% more than your cooling is what we see. So, but this is how you can take electric bills and back all the way into what the actual usage is. So hopefully this is helpful. Reedy in particular, I'm looking at you, thank you. And keep going as you're learning this stuff. But energy bill disaggregation, this took a little bit of time to learn. It's going to take you a little bit of time to practice. But if you do this on 4 or 5 houses, you're going to be able to, in seconds, disaggregate what the usage is. And then by using this tool, you can quickly figure out what the actual load is. By the way, I should mention, this tool uses bin data. So this uses how many hours a given climate, which is why the zip code is critical. So every climate spends a different amount of hours in certain bins. So, the 10 to 15 degree range would be one bin. The 90 to 95 degree range would be another bin. So this uses that bin data, which gives you really pretty good load calculations. It's the best load calculations come out of this, not heating degree days. So hope this was helpful. Everyone have a great day. Keep going, keep learning, keep making the industry better. I'm Nate Adams. Have a great day. Bye-bye.